Why does this Shimano 105 Di2 Groupset cost like £1,000? Is it worth that much money? Let me just say, I'm yet to be convinced. That electric wire was probably 50 quid. Not gonna lie, unboxing this thing, I'm half expecting a truffle to be buried at the bottom or something to be gold plated, given the cost.
Looks expensive.
First out the box are the brake calipers. Now, apart from looking pretty sexy, the design matches the older Groupsets. Now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it wasn't broken, so don't fix it. I'm sure some people will say though, I spent £1,000 and it looks exactly the same. I understand, it's a hard life that we live. Apparently there is an extra 10% distance between the pad and the disc, so the pistons can retract further to prevent brake rub. They also have the brake pad already installed in them, so you don't have to spend your extra pennies to buy brake pads, which is nice to see. We also have the disc brake stop. Now, this is what we use when the wheel is out of the bike, so the pistons don't come out. And we have these other little bolts, which, to be honest, I have absolutely no idea what they are for. There was also this 160mm rotor adapter. Now, by default, Shimano Groupsets use a 140mm rear rotor. If you get a 160mm rotor for the rear, you need this adapter. Now, we have the Shimano CN-M7100 chain. I want some more abbreviations, please. Now, this is a 12-speed quick link chain for the 12-speed Groupset that we are working with. Not much else to report. It's a chain. Shoving my hand back in the box like I'm digging for a raffle prize, I find the Shimano Holotech crank arms. What I'm going to do is read you the marketing information like I'm a salesman from the 90s. The newly designed crank arm offers an optimized balance between lightweight and efficiency. The crank, formed with hollow aluminium technology, is beautifully anodized in this black gloss finish, giving it a luxurious look. Enough of that. To be honest, they look similar to the previous 105 cranks that I've purchased, which look pretty good, to be honest, so there is no complaints for me that they haven't drastically changed. The cassette is the 1134 tooth, and although there isn't much to say about the cassette because they are tried and tested, these feel blooming good in your hands. I think it's probably the best bang for buck, in my opinion, over the Ultegra and Dura-Ace cassettes. For my stopping disc, I have the Shimano SM-RT70, more abbreviations. Normally I go for the Icetech rotors, as you would see in my previous builds, but these are definitely going on my next build, so it'd be good to get a comparison. Both are 160mm, so I'll need that adapter for the rear, as I showed you earlier. Diving back into the box of goodies, we have the shifters. Are you ready to shift gears? I need to get out of this shed more, don't I? Anyway, these are very similar to the Dura-Ace and Ultegra shifters. They claim that the whole range is more ergonomic and much easier for us mere mortals to get a grip on. From experience, I like the nice sort of curve, which gives you more comfort when your hands are on the hoods. The hydraulic chamber has been moved further down, so the hoods look less like a large rhino horn and more like the smaller rhino horn. Random analogy, I do wonder about my mind sometimes. If we compare the previous 105 hydraulic shifters, then you can clearly see that the new ones, the 105 Di2, are quite a bit smaller. So they're not lying. From the top, the new shifter also appears to have a slight curve, which naturally aligns with your grip. I like these updates, it's looking good so far. Not so sure on the price though. Changing gear only requires your pinky, which I can't wait for. But truth be told, that is one thing I actually thought about. How definite is that click on the Di2 shifter? But it is a definitive click. It's just much easier to press. Next out of the box of goodies, we have the rear derailleur. Now this is the brains of the operation, believe it or not. I do think it's a strange place to put the brain though, and more on that later. I wasn't expecting War and Peace in the box either. Is this rear derailleur really that complicated? Hopefully not. Now this 105 Di2 derailleur has the same brain as the Ultegra and Dura-Ace Groupsets, which is good, but I'm assuming it's a different material, which probably makes it about 5 grams heavier. A massive difference.
Sarcasm?
We have a charge port on the rear derailleur to charge the Di2 battery, so you can simply reverse up to a socket in your house and plug it into the grid. Mechanically and visually, it looks and feels great. It has that sort of Swiss Army knife feeling that it's gonna last a long time. Obviously, I'll be putting this thing through its paces, so do subscribe for a long-term review coming soon, or long term. We also had these little bits in the box which I haven't seen before. Comment down below if you know what they are. It would be helpful for me to know. Cheers, thank you very much. The front derailleur is next out the box, and I wish I could tell you something more exciting, like facts like, oh wow, it's 10% lighter and 110% more efficient. But to me, it's a front derailleur. It changes from big to small ring. It does a job, but it's not that exciting. It does look pretty flashy though. Winner. Both the front and rear derailleurs connect to the shifters wirelessly, so you don't need to run a cable from the shifters to each derailleur. Isn't it nice to have a first world solution to a first world problem? On the topic of batteries, isn't it a coincidence that while everything is going electric, electricity prices doubled? It's probably going to cost about 10p just for me to change one gear. Don't worry, it doesn't, because this Di2 battery is 1000 milliamp hour, which is 1/4 of the average phone size battery. They estimate it will last about 2000 miles between charges. A new one will cost you £130. You are over that barrel, my friends. Actually, we are all over that barrel.
You just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
When everything is together, you can check the battery life by pressing the button on the rear derailleur. Green equals good, red equals bad. There are 2 batteries in each shifter, and these should last a claimed 4 years. Nice to know that they will randomly die on me when I'm riding through the countryside when I'm 36.
I don't know the future.
Looking at the weights for all the weight weenies out there, we have the left shifter, 220 grams. The rear brake caliper and hose, 160 grams. Right shifter is 220 grams. Front brake caliper and hose is 167 grams. The cassette is 360 grams. Rear derailleur, 300 grams. Front derailleur, 138 grams. Both disc rotors and lock rings combined, 293 grams. Chain rings and the single crank arm, 557 grams. The other crank arm, 192 grams. Chain, 281 grams. Obviously there's extra links on that though. The Di2 battery is 52 grams, so super light. Cables running to each derailleur from the battery, a combined 20 grams, and that gives us a grand total of 2,967 grams, so nearly 3 kilos. Now, if we look at this chart, we can see that we are 225 grams lower than the claimed weight from Shimano, so that's nice. I also compared to Bike Radar, and we are 17 grams heavier than them. I'm calling Shimano. I want a full refund. On to 4 things I like about this group set and 4 things I dislike. So 4 things I like. Once your battery level drops below 10%, the front derailleur will stop working. You can then only shift the rear derailleur until the battery goes flat. This makes sense to ensure that you can make it home. Shift modes I also like. We have semi-synchro. The bike will automatically shift the rear derailleur when you shift the front derailleur to minimize that jump in gear ratio. We've all done it. You're riding uphill, drop into a smaller chain ring, and then you're spinning at around 110 RPM. That is no longer an issue. There is also full synchro. That is where your front derailleur will shift automatically when the rear derailleur reaches a certain gear. This removes the cross chaining. No one likes a bendy middle, especially Shimano, which is why they've added this feature. I also like the fact that you don't have to run cables through the shifters. This means there is plenty of space for the brake cables. Johnny, my mechanic, will be very happy with my life choices right now. Lastly, I love the fact that there is going to be no more indexing or cable stretch to worry about. You set it up and you go, you're done. Which brings us on to 4 things I dislike. Now, although it is marketed as wireless, we still need to run cables to the derailleurs from the battery. Now, granted, that's easier than running cables from the shifters all the way round the bike, but it's still cable, so it's essentially semi-wireless. Now, the 105 group set used to be the people's champ. Now, at £1,000 plus and only an electronic option, that is long gone, my friends. Your once best friend now sits on the throne in a different kingdom somewhere. It's also not backwards compatible with any of the older 11-speed chain sets, forcing people to basically upgrade everything in one go, but that can be said for all 12-speed. The brains of the operation is in the rear derailleur, as I said earlier. What is the most vulnerable part of a group set? Arguably the rear derailleur. Now, new ones are on offer at the minute for £190 from Sigma Sports, so if your rear derailleur gets busted, it's going to be an expensive repair.
I can't do this anymore.
Price-wise, you can get this 105 Di2 group set for around £1,000 at the moment, depending on where you are in the world, which is a lot of money. You could buy 2 or 3 mechanical shifting 105 group sets for that price. Now you know all the details about this Shimano 105 Di2 group set. Subscribe to watch a full detailed build video, which is coming very soon. So bloody shiny and well made, isn't it? You might look great, but I've seen some horror stories about you. Let's hope you don't snap.